1974. The Beatlefest, produced by Mark and Carol Lafitos, is probably the most popular, hosting hundreds of fans who come to see films and sound-alike bands. One-of-a-kind items, including original autographs, bring in high bids at an auction.
What I had these photos, they've never been published, what can I do with them? I said, sell the Beatlefest. So John was going out with May Pang at the time. May came to the show and brought all the photos. John saw this photo that night and said, that's my album cover. So because of Beatlefest 74, this became the album cover. So I'm proud of that. Oh, $80, $82 I hit up 84, 84, 86, 88. So $100. Give her a hand. Whoa! A more determined middle I've never seen.
The Beatles had a tremendous impact on the clothing industry. Almost all of their outfits have been duplicated, the most popular being the Sgt. Pepper's jacket.
Jacket to any kind of 60s event. I don't wear the jacket all the time like I used to in the old days, but I wear it to Beatle things, Grateful Dead shows, any 60s event. And my grandfather, through his connections, found out the Beatles were going to be here when I was, and he managed to get me tickets to go see them, and I'll never forget it. I was so excited. We were pretty far away. We were in the back, but we were near the speakers too. And I remember my dad didn't want to take me. You know, he didn't like rock and roll or the Beatles. And he and a friend of his and his daughter and I went to the show, and we were sitting there screaming our lungs out. I had no voice when I got home, and my dad and his friend were sitting there holding their hands over their ears in disgust, and we didn't even realize they were there. We were just oblivious. It was great. 12 and a half. Going on 13.
No doubt there are some that grew out of their obsession with the Beatles, but their place in line is quickly filled by new converts, many of whom were barely old enough to crawl when the Fab Four appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show.
A regeneration of kids involved in the Beatles, and I would say we do these shows, and they're what keep us in business. I'd say at least in this show, probably about half our business will be people under 25 who've never even seen the Beatles, and it's amazing. We get now in the store, we get mothers and fathers bringing their kids in who are also collectors at like 15, 16 years old, and you know, these are kids that probably their first concert was around the bicentennial. You know,
I thought there weren't going to be as many young people here, younger than me even. You know, and there's a lot of teenagers here. You know that. It's amazing, and they're just as avid collecting records and stuff too. You know, they're fighting over tables just like I am, and it's great.
Nothing brought more attention to the Beatles than their first feature film, A Hard Day's Night. For the public, the film was a glimpse into stardom. There was no real plot, just a day in the life format with the Beatles going through the routines of their daily life, playing concerts, dodging fans, and dueling with reporters. The film took place in London's Piccadilly Circus. Mobs of fans were invited to give the movie a real-life look. Shooting began July 6, 1964. United Artists wasn't all that interested in the content of the film. What they really wanted, and got, was the rights to the soundtrack. Just as long as the Beatles' images were on screen and they owned the rights to all the music, United Artists could begin cashing in on the extraordinary album sales. However, the movie turned out to be more than most expected. Under the guidance of Walter Shenson and director Richard Lester, A Hard Day's Night became a powerful classic still studied by film classes everywhere.
Paul adds something new to his makeup. A production schedule is made to be followed, and even the Beatles have to stick to a timetable. They pack themselves off to the afternoon location where the second crew is getting ready for them. There probably isn't anyone in the world who hasn't heard of La Scala Opera House. Here is that famous theater, only this one is not in Milan. It's in London, and playing host to another mob, a movie company, and the inevitable Beatles. Somehow, the four whimsical wonders have been sneaked past the waiting crowds and enjoy a few moments of relative peace. To prove that wonders never cease, producer Walter Shenson corralled 1,500 youngsters to fill the seats and make believe they're enjoying themselves. An accomplishment soon to get almost out of hand when the big scene starts on stage. Enter the Beatles, the universal cue for mass mayhem. They're going to treat the audience to some of the 11 songs that will be heard in A Hard Day's Night.
While much of the film's charm lay in its cinema verite style of handheld cameras and frenzied cutting, Help, on the other hand, was a surreal parody. Help was the Beatles' second film. The movie showed our heroes in distress in ridiculous comical situations. The audience was asked over and over, will they survive? Help used many expensive gimmicks that were so popular at the time in movies such as Goldfinger and Thunderball.
I need somebody help, not just anybody help. I need someone.